So yeah, some pretty sad news as Hogwarts Legacy's old-gen console release has been delayed by one more month. We also have more details from the official pages, what else will change and what will remain the same. And I think that in the end, this could be all good news if the team can deliver on the performance side of these releases. As always, a sub to the channel would help a ton, and let's dive right in with all the details. But the previously delayed launch dates of April 4th for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions of Hogwarts Legacy have been moved down a bit later now to May 5th, 2023. According to the game's official Twitter page, we're overwhelmed with the gratitude for the response to Hogwarts Legacy from the fans around the globe. The team is working hard to deliver the best possible experience on all platforms, and we need more time to do this. Hogwarts Legacy will launch for PS4 and Xbox One May 5th, 2023. So there you have it, folks. Also good to note is that the Switch release is still set to launch on its original date of July 25th, as the main account was able to confirm that the release date for the Switch has not been changed, only the PS4 and the Xbox One versions. We also have more info on the upgrading and transferring save files and how these will work like between different console variants. So on the subject of making free upgrades from the old gen to the next gen versions of the game, you can, but only with the digital deluxe editions. These actually already include that by default, so you can freely make the upgrade or downgrade when you get a new console, or if you want to make that switch between them. If you were wondering, the same thing won't be possible unfortunately with the physical digital editions of Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm not really sure why. I guess it kinda makes sense because both the versions of the game files would have to be present on the physical disc, but that's not the case, and it kinda sucks since you're paying the same higher price without getting the benefits out of it. Maybe another reason to move from physical copies and go fully digital, but let me know down below what you think about this. However, save files will work slightly differently depending if you're on the Xbox or the PlayStation. That's because for Xbox you can freely move save data between consoles as long as you're signed in with the same Xbox user account, as the official page was able to confirm that. Meanwhile, for the PlayStation, save data will remain on the platform it was created on, so no cross saves, at least not for now. You can still, however, log in or link both platforms for each version of Hogwarts Legacy on the same Warner Brothers account to get the Harry Potter fan site rewards in case you still want those. Maybe they could offset some of these issues by indeed providing an upgrade of the save files if you want to later transition from the old gen PS4s to the PS5s and whatnot. Pretty much all games these days that have been cross-gen before on the PlayStation have offered a possibility like this, where you could just open up the PS4 version of the game, upgrade or transfer those saves to the PS5, so you could freely continue playing with the same progression if you didn't get the console yet. In any case, I'm expecting one more large update at the very least before the old-gen console versions launch on May 5th, because the bug report website is still quite active and it looks like the team has a lot of bug fixes in progress as we speak. There are quite a few crash-related issues, missions that don't progress or complete properly, and various other controller problems that could all be flashed out up until then. So fully expecting these to also be included in the relaunch of the old-gen versions on May 5th, but who knows, maybe they will just do it right then on that date. Also, other more issues related to missing progression that I do know quite a lot of you have been facing, so if you still have those lingering, you can check out the main Hogwarts Legacy bugs page that I will link down below and issue or vote on the problems that you're still facing over there. But the game's performance was pretty solid on the next-gen consoles, all things considered, with the PlayStation platform yet again having a slight advantage and a more stable frame rate compared to the technically better Series X. It doesn't seem, however, that these advantages will also translate necessarily to the old-gen versions, since obviously they need a lot more time to make them playable. But I will take the more time to make it playable if that means a better product in the end and a better experience on the old-gen. However they end up performing on the old gen, it's clear that Warner Brothers doesn't want to stop despite the record-breaking success that they just had, and are definitely eyeing the even more so substantial and still remaining old gen player base. Since we last talked about player count, Hogwarts Legacy has been confirmed to have sold over 12 million copies in its first 2 weeks, generating around $850 million for the publisher. That's roughly on par or maybe even better even than something like Elden Ring, which sold roughly the same in a similar amount of time last year, ending up with over 20 million copies sold up until today. So having Hogwarts launch on the old gen and then the Switch version will probably skyrocket those numbers even higher, despite some possible overlap between the different player bases. And yes, technically the game has ran its course with only a fraction of the almost 900,000 concurrent players on Steam it had on day one, down to just shy of 140,000 in the last 24 hours, but I still think that people underestimate what a powerhouse this game still remains. It's been reported by the games industry website that Hogwarts Legacy retained the top spot in terms of sales for the 4th consecutive week in the UK alone, even being way ahead of games that just launched such as Fallen Dynasty and Remaster of Metroid Prime, which makes it one of the fastest selling video games in Europe in a generation, with the exception of course of FIFA. Of course, sales numbers are great and all, but I'm still keeping hopes high for a DLC, specifically something that adds story, new content, and mechanics, which at this point, I think there's a strong possibility for still. Likely not 2023, of course, since they will have spent half a year on the other versions up until then, but an Elden Ring style 1.5 years later content update would be amazing. Last time the game's director talked about it, it wasn't actually a hard no to the idea of a content update, but rather just a lack of time on their part due to them wanting to polish the final release as much as they could, which for now has been working quite well for them with a pretty stable build all around despite some issues still persisting. I would of course love to know more about the backstory of our characters, or even maybe have a better look at London, since it's so important to the lore and since technically we did start the game story literally over there. Yes, I do know that our character is supposed to not have a background purposefully so that we can imagine it ourselves, but surely after the school year is over, it doesn't mean that the threads are over in and outside of Hogwarts. Another thing that I would love to see is for the Warner Bros. Game Studio to release the modding tools for the game. That would add a ton to the game's longevity and replayability, especially since the modding scene has proven to be quite eventful, with many mods released up until now that have literally broken records. I would of course love to know what you prefer in terms of DLC and future content, so looking forward to reading your opinions in the comments down below. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like on it, subscribe, and as always activate the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.